With that, Casey, you have gone a long ways toward answering the first of the questions that we're going to take today. This one comes from the gluten-free nerd. That's what it says here in the chat window. With plans for Orion moving forward, should we expect approval to increase the budget to NASA through adjustments in proportion of tax funds allocated to NASA? I'm not sure I understand that, but I think maybe talking about increasing the NASA budget at least as much as the inflation rate?
That would be a very important goal. And I think, so let's talk about where we are in terms of the big picture here. And this is where I think, if anything we've learned from 2016 is making political prognostications is a risky game. And this is where we're trying to be aware of what's happening, but not to make too many long-term predictions, because we're in a lot of uncertainty here. So
long-term presumptions.
Presumptions. Thank you, Bill.
Well, just we're not going to presume
that
NASA's budget will get increased, but we're hoping it will be based on the idea, if I understand this, Casey, that we have bipartisan support.
Yeah, and I should say we're not just hoping, we're working to make that happen. And yeah, and it's true. So here's where we are, though. Here's the math. And this is where I think we do honestly have some very strong supporters in Congress who are in power in Congress, Republicans, who do want to see this grow. However, here's the math. We have, from what we understand, the intention to have a very large tax cut coming through. We have the intention to have a large infrastructure spending bill. We have the intention to have increased spending on the military side of the US budget. And we've also had a stated intention to go after and to diminish and to decrease the part of the budget that's called non-defense discretionary. Basically, that's what funds what we think of as government. That's where NASA is funded out of. That's where the National Science Foundation is funded, National Endowment for the Arts, roads, veterans, healthcare, you name it, the FBI, Homeland Security, all of this is funded out of non-defense discretionary. They have stated that they want to diminish this over the years by about 20% over the next 4 years. And so if NASA's pot of money that it draws from shrinks, NASA itself is going to have a hard time maintaining its current budget. You know, basically it means it's growing in proportion to its shrinking pool that it can draw from, much less grow. Now, we don't know for sure if this will be the outcome. Parties in power tend to learn to love deficit spending, right? Because no one wants to, it tends to be very politically unpopular to cut popular programs, you know, go figure. And the issues here is that, are we really going to see, and this is what no one really knows yet, there's a very strong contingent in the House of Representatives in particular, who are truly committed to cutting big portions of government in order to pay for these other items. We don't know if they're a big enough contingent yet to override a more moderate wing or more free spending wing of the Republican Party, or if they find some sort of coalition of Democrats and Republicans to come together and pass some bigger spending bills. So we're going to find out here relatively soon, basically where people's true belief systems exist, and also how committed they are to them in the face of real political consequences.
Let's see, the gluten-free nerd, how do you expect Pruitt's appointment to impact the program based on your current view on the administration's take on human impact on the environment? And that is the new Secretary of the Interior.
Of the EPA.
I'm sorry, EPA Director. Sorry,
EPA, yeah,
my
Secretary
mistake.
of Interior. No, the names were thrown around. Well, I think one of the things you talked about a few times, Casey, was regulation. And space launches have regulations just like airplane runways and airports. So I imagine there'll be a way to, I can imagine Mr. Pruitt wanting to enable more launches with less energy spent on environmental impact statements. I'm imagining that. And then people want to have spaceports in New Mexico and Texas. Spaceport is like an airport, but there's concerns downrange. I went by the pad where the big explosion was last September. Man, when a rocket blows up, it's serious business. So I imagine the Environmental Protection Agency will work less with the Federal Aviation Administration on rocket launches. Casey, do you have any opinion on that?
I don't have any much more to add than that.